Hello, Bhanu. Thank you so much for joining the Spotlight on Internal Communication series that I run on my blog and on my YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm very delighted. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey, Anshu, thanks so much for the invitation, and I'm glad to be part of this initiative.
Great. So today we're going to be talking about gamification in internal comms, and I think it's a very interesting topic. And before we get started, Bhanu, why don't you quickly introduce yourself for our viewers?
Sure. As storytellers, let me tell you my story in a very short span. I'm a MBA professional turned into a sales executive, turned into a call center executive, turned into a credit cards dispute executive, turned into a storyteller. I think the 15 years journey was amazing. My friends still feel jealous of me because I always tell them, hey, I'm paid for my hobby. So that's me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I know in your work in internal comms, Bhanu, that you've been doing some exciting work at Amazon and earlier. So if you can, quickly define what's your understanding of gamification in internal comms?
Sure. Thanks for that question, Ansu. We at Internal Comms team, we always try to find new and creative ways to convey our messages to our audience, irrespective of blue collar employees or white collar employees. And I personally feel we should always keep in mind that our audience is surrounded by information via various sources, like your social media channels, your news apps, and stuff like that.
Right.
So how do we clutter? How do you cut the clutter and make our message stand out? I think that's the big question we always try to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is where the whole gamification comes into play. And the core objective, I think, is to have fun while playing the game and subtly push the messages. For example, you would have played online games like memory game, where player needs to identify tiles with same design or same message, and they disappear once you find the right match. I think it's a very smart, simple game where subconsciously the content is recorded in your mind. I think, and if you try to implement that kind of methods in your conveying messages, I think your job is done. That's what I feel about gamification.
Fantastic. If you could then talk to us about, what are some of those key principles that need to be applied for gamification, especially in internal comms?
Sure. So whenever we design and launch such games, I think we need to keep three principles in mind as per my experience. A, it should be easy to scale. B, keep it frugal. And C, make sure you can measure the success. Now, when it comes to scalability, think of different forums, devices where an employee or a user can use, and also think of different languages while maintaining the same experience to the user. If you start something in India and you want to run across the world, keep in mind the mindset of an employee. If an employee in US is playing the same game like an employee in India, can we bridge the gap and make sure the experience for both of them is the same?
Great.
Everyone loves low-cost projects, and to make sure the project doesn't cost much. And there are so many wonderful smart tools available in the market where you can plug and play. You need not really sit and write a differently new code to come up with your own game. And finally, place the right mechanisms to measure the impact. Because impact should be measured in terms of participation. And of course, in gaming, you have different parameters, different impact numbers which can be recorded. Right. And the most important one is post-activity survey, which could really help you show the needle movement. Have you actually moved the needle? Did you make a difference? Did the audience get the message? I think if you can keep these three principles in mind, you should be successful at your gamification.
Fantastic. Can you share an example, maybe from your recent work at Amazon, about how this plays out in the workplace?
Yeah, sure. So last year, during the White Friday sale event in this part of Middle East world, we launched something called a football gaming app, and we want to convey some of the key messages during the sale event. So we developed a football penalty mobile application. It's very simple. The user scans a QR code. The gaming app opens up on the mobile. You shoot a penalty, and you answer a quiz question after each penalty shootout. The beauty of it, user can play multiple times and keep advancing to different stages in the game. In this process, he or she will also answer those questions on as part of the quiz and get to learn what is right or what is wrong on those key messages. And at the end of the 2 weeks campaign, we recorded close to 21,000 plus penalty shootouts. And around 8,000 people played and answered the quiz. And the best part is that the post-survey results were quite encouraging. More than 85% employees understood the key messages. I think that's the big win, I would say, is what people like to play, have fun, while you're conveying the message, which can be a little boring at times, but they understood it.
Fantastic. Oh, it's a great example. And you briefly mentioned about different languages while you're applying this, but when it comes to different cultures, what are some of the ways in which you need to consider when you apply gamification?
Sure. So as along with the culture, I think we also need to understand the audience appetite. For example, let me refer to my football penalty game. There were a couple of strong reasons why we picked this game. Number one, from a timing perspective, the FIFA World Cup football was happening around the world. And it was happening in Qatar, which is in the Middle East region.
Right.
The second strong reason is people in Middle East love football. You can sell anything in the name of football. So we thought, what a better way to leverage this combination. Right. So if you're planning for the next game, I would say please do look out for such timing and the preference of audience. For example, IPL is quite popular in the Asian markets. Football takes the center stage in Europe, or cricket in Australia, or for the matter of fact, rugby or baseball in the United States. So if you can really think what clicks, and I strongly believe sports is something which will really help drive such engagement initiatives, irrespective of your industry, irrespective of your audience, and irrespective of your language.
Got it. Fantastic. So I've also wonder, sometimes when you introduce some of these new concepts like gamification, what kind of changes in the mindset sometimes among leaders, sometimes among employees needs to happen so that this succeeds. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. I would use the word approach instead of the word change. And based on my experience, I can recommend 3 important approaches. I think number one, always remember our employees are super smart than we think. They love creative ways to be communicated to them. So we should keep innovating on their behalf.
Right.
Number two, like in any social media platform, you know how critical influencer plays. Similarly, in our internal comms world, we should try to identify those influences and help spread the word. I believe sending just a message or pushing an email, printing a banner might not really get you the results what you wanted. Right. These influences or so-called evangelists will definitely help drive your purpose and help succeed this campaign. Third one, and also do not forget to involve your leadership team. Show them having fun with the game. Because as we say, walk the talk, let the leaders also have fun.
Right.
And always try to reach your audience via mobile phones. I think we should think beyond emails, posters, and banners. Because our audience always consume information on their handheld devices round the clock. So what a better way to connect to them.
Great. And you have been obviously following trends about this particular concept. So what are some of the opportunities that you see for the future in internal comms in relation to gamification?
Sure, you agree. Times are changing, Anisu. I mean, we as comms professionals should always look beyond the regular channels for cascading messages. I have personally seen very good results using gamification. This can be used especially to engage your employees when you want to drive culture, because driving culture is not an easy task. And I feel that most of the brands or industries rely heavily on the messaging when they want to drive a culture. Or it can be as simple as that. You got a vision statement. How do you make a shop floor associate or a person sitting in one corner of the office understand what that vision means and how he or she can contribute in achieving that vision of the company?
Got it.
If you can think in those lines, definitely gamification is something which can really help you to break those barriers, make the messaging easy, easy to consume, easy to understand, and most importantly, easy to action. And I say experimenting is the key to success. I mean, you fail, but fail fast.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. And on the flip side, any big obstacles that you see for gamification to play out?
Yeah, sure. I think every ride cannot be smooth as we think. But here are some familiar challenges you might face when you want to get into this space. The most important challenge is getting the buy-in from your senior management. Try to share as much as data from your similar campaigns from the past or from other companies. I mean, look beyond your org, look beyond your industry. I'm sure there are tons of materials done by different people on internet. Try to gather them, make a case study, and show them, hey, this is how it's done in different company, and these are the results. Number two, lack of incentivization. If the user is not getting rewarded, there might be a drop in engagement. So spend little generous money in rewarding those winners and make them celebrities. They will do the magic on your behalf. And the last part, the last big obstacle I feel is that lack of constant drum roll using the real-time data. I'll tell you what happened. For example, if you're watching IPL, on the screen, you'll see a lot of data being crunched and different parameters are shown to make the user excited. Like, hey, this is the fastest half century made in IPL in 2023. That's an exciting data. So use that kind of real-time data and keep making noise. That will build a lot of excitement among the audience throughout the campaign period. If you can manage these three, I'm sure it should be easy work.
Fantastic. And again, as we wrap up, Bhanu, any final thoughts on gamification? Anything which you feel our viewers should know?
Sure. I think, as I mentioned earlier, we as internal comms professionals should always keep exploring and creative ways to communicate. We should be really obsessed with our employees and think on their behalf to deliver, world-class messages. One humble request I would ask everyone: do not underestimate the power of internal comms. We are driving business. We are not enabling anymore.
Right. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bhanu. I think this has been a fantastic conversation and very deep insights on a concept and a trend that people should definitely follow in internal comms. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thanks, Ansu. Thanks so much for having me on your show. Have a good day.